Hello, YouTube. Ladies, gentlemen, we're good? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, $20,000 in 20 minutes. And the actual conclusion to our video from yesterday on forgiveness. We're going to talk about all that and more. I am Mark Melnick. This is the Newsbeat Show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsbeat Show. So many great things to talk about today. Really great stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about our conclusion. We're going to talk about our conclusion from yesterday's video and also show you how I made 20 grand in 20 minutes today. By watching this video, you are agreeing to hold me, Mark Melnick, and T3 Live harmless and not responsible for anything. If you don't agree to that, kindly leave this video. If you do agree, enjoy the show. So, um, obviously everybody understands that I was away for the holiday, yesterday and whatnot, and that was, it's kind of funny when some people are like, "Oh, I hope you had a great holiday." They don't understand that the majority of Jewish holidays are actually about repentant sin and remembering unfortunately horrible times. It's not like every other holiday is something to really celebrate. It was more of a repentance holiday than anything. And I think Scott Redler's tweet really said it the best. I'll look for it later. He just basically I think I took a picture of it. It was a really good one, but that's not the point today. It's basically talking. All right, here it is. I found Scott Redler's tweet. Okay, so he said, and we're going to go into this, and I'm going to show you everything. He said, "To those I may have wronged, I ask forgiveness. To those I may have helped, I wish I did more. To those I neglected to help, I ask for understanding. And to those who helped me, I sincerely thank you so much." So, I mean those words with every ounce of my heart. And I will hopefully show you proof of that more than just simply me saying it. So it started out this morning with a public, YouTube hash out where I'm just simply reading the comments in some of my videos. I did a video yesterday talking about how to improve your trading through forgiveness. And I didn't get any email from the gentleman or whatnot, so I just figured I would directly reach out to him and actually tell him how I will go above and beyond for the situation. So it was a simple thing where, there's a bit of a thread here on the YouTube side, and I'll just basically read it to you and get to the points. It said, in response to yesterday, me talking about a forgiveness video, he said, "Hey, Mark, I will totally forgive you and sign up for the Newsbeat room right away if you could just show any proof that you even trade." And of course, I got bashed by someone else and then defended by someone else. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this is a new phase of my life. I don't know, I can't speak on behalf of other people who go through Yom Kippur, but for me, it's always a reflection on myself to how I could do better in the thing. So I basically respond and say, deal. However, do I require your forgiveness? I asked that as a question mark. And I said, due to the boldness of your statement, I can guarantee you, I basically did better this year trading than you have in your career. However, let's find out. I was more egging on the challenge without fully understanding. And I actually wanted to apologize for that. I could easily just delete my tweet right now and, or not my tweet, my YouTube response and just simply not talk about it again. That's what most people do in my situation, but I'm really looking for a genuine answer here. So this is why I'm sharing it with you. Um, Basically, gentleman is being rash, talking about somebody who defended me, asking him what is he smoking. He's never shown a P&L or a brokerage statement, so he just all he does is just talk, talk, talk about everything but actual trading. He sure likes to annotate the charts with big arrows claiming he entered an exit at the absolute bottom or top, but never shows his real fills. Use your brain and you'd see once. He's just another fake broadcaster trying to sell room subscriptions, obviously referring to me. And then I say, so you ignore my response. I say you're angry and upset, but if you send, a request info at t3live.com, I'd be glad to show you a nice five-figure days I had a nice five-figure day I had today on October 10th. Room did great, but you unfortunately dislike me for reasons I cannot begin to imagine. And I had no, I mean, the person is obviously, he used two letters to represent his first and last name, so I have no idea who he is or if that's his real first and last name. And that's fine. I can respect his anonymity. And I asked him, did someone send you here angry? And say, either way, you promised if I show you the P&L that you would join. And then he says, in response, that forgiveness for all the money he lost following me. So apparently, this user um, lost money following me. Again, running a trading room. He says, I emailed you and I'm waiting for a response. I actually never got his email. I'm sure he sent it maybe to info at t3live.com, not my T3 Live email. And he says, I will keep my end of the bargain if you send me proof that you actually trade and make money. So I just use this example today to say, okay, I will show you today as an example since I just came in this morning and this whole thing was happening throughout the day. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. And then there was another follow-up response before I show you the day. And it basically said from a member in the room, basically said, Mark, I liked the Newsbeat show last night. This happened today at 11:49 a.m. This will not be an evergreen video. This will be videos with dates and timestamps saying he liked the Newsbeat show last night and he understands why forgiveness is helpful, but he didn't think I went into much depth about how you actually forgive. Though the exercise of shifting thoughts from negative is helpful, that doesn't really strike me as forgiving. So I'm going to really just try to throw another step at you guys in terms of forgiveness, as well as actually sharing my day. So, again, if you do join and you want to meet in person, I could show you a screenshot. I would be more than happy to actually show you my brokerage statement from I guess today, October 10th, 2019, if you do keep your word and you do decide to join my room. And not only that, I'll do you better. I will give 5 times the money that I get paid for you signing up for my service. I do get paid when you sign up for my service. I obviously don't keep the majority of that money or whatever, but I do get paid if you do sign up for my service. And I am willing to give 5 times that money to a charity of your choice if you join. And by starting, I want to first say that I do beg you for forgiveness now. I did not know that you were somebody who has followed me and not done well. Over my life, I've met tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of traders. This is not exactly a sexy topic that most broadcasters would actually go through. They just would like to go through the invincibility thing. And again, I'm not talking about anyone in particular here. I am just generalizing. Heck, that was me maybe 15 years ago. I don't, even though I wasn't doing videos, if I was, I doubt I'd be talking about topics like that back then as I would today. So just to show you real quick, I took a screenshot of my software today, as well as hiding out certain names in the room, just so I don't, hiding the room list members as I don't want to put people's names here. And you could see that I clearly made over 20 grand today. I clearly made $20,000 today. And yeah, I don't wish to show you my account value or my margin buying power and my available to withdraw, but I would be more than happy to show you that in person. As I said, I don't really think I want it subject on the internet, and I know T3 Live doesn't really like boastings of these P&Ls. And again, I would be very willing to share with T3 just for, this is a charity account right here. This is an account that we do give for charity. So it's not even, I wouldn't even consider this my main account. But it is an account in which I did pull in 20 grand in today. Again, it's not exactly the best day in the world, but you were questioning the fact on whether I trade or not. And as I said, if you are ever in New York or in the T3 Live office, I would be more than happy to come down there and actually show you what I did to or my actual day on October 10th, 2019. Again, this is my Tzedakah account, which is basically the Hebrew translation for charity. I do give a lot to charity. And I do want to just actually beg your forgiveness. And it's actually kind of funny here that the actual key thing is not my P&L here, is somebody actually says in the room. And again, if you have a name that's not a real name, I actually didn't black it out, but I missed that one, Mark. But would be interested if it could help me understand your forgiving the turd man. And the turd man was somebody who removed my refrigerator, dropped a piece of manure behind my refrigerator and then pushed maybe an 800-pound refrigerator behind it. So I guess my whole house would smell bad and I would have no idea where it's coming from. That's the only thing I could think of. It was I did an entire video on this, by the way. But I do want to talk about forgiveness. And I will say for the gentleman who wrote me that if you sign up to T3 and you anonymously tell T3 that that was you in the YouTube video, Mark promised that he would give 5 times the money he makes to a charity of my choice, share the charity of your choice, and I'd be more than happy to show you a receipt to the charity of your choice, representing 5 times the money that I would make from you signing up to my room. With that being said, let's just go into how do you actually forgive somebody? And I went into a lot of the steps I think of the importance, but some of the room members, Thomas, didn't feel that it was a real, he really didn't feel it was a real thing, like in terms of that I wasn't able to really, um, delve into how to actually go ahead and forgive with forgiveness. So, for me personally, as somebody, and I don't really consider myself that religious, but it's more spiritual growth. And I feel forgiving others is really essential for your spiritual growth. Your experience of someone who has hurt you, in this case, obviously you felt I have hurt you, and, you wouldn't probably be the first person, and I hope, but let's just admit, likely not the last person in this world who might feel that way about me. And while painful, now nothing more than a thought or feeling that you carry around is this experience of the person that hurt you. And these thoughts of resentment, anger, hatred represent slow, debilitating energies that will disempower you. I know you're talking to somebody who's gotten divorced, somebody who had his entire bank account milked out. And for the longest time, I was angry at such said person. And as life went on and I met somebody else and I remarried, I actually was very happy all of a sudden. I was actually very, I was very happy that of what this person did to me because it allowed me to move into my life into a place that I was happier than I've ever been. And so I wanted to share with you maybe some steps on how to forgive somebody that has hurt you. And you know, again, I do beg for your forgiveness if I did hurt you, but I also want to talk about maybe steps that you can take to forgive anyone in your life. In the case of the gentleman who went back and forth with me on YouTube today, how you can forgive me, perhaps. At least let me give it a fair shot at trying to do this, and I pray that I succeed. And if not, again, I am trying my best here, so I do appreciate you watching this video. So I want to say that your past history and all of your hurts are no longer here in your physical reality, if you think about it. Don't allow them to be here in your mind, muddying your present moments. Your life is like a play with several acts, and remember, all this, comes from somebody who's experienced this negativity. There's, 10 years ago, there was always somebody that I, you know, wished would get hit by a garbage truck to put lightly. And I thought that would bring me some form of joy. I don't feel that way anymore. And in fact, I would be heartbroken if any of those people actually did get hit by a garbage truck. and just using a silly, a silly thought in my head that would never obviously material into any form of reality. So your life is really like a play with several acts, and some of the characters who enter have short roles to play, others much larger roles to play. Some are villains and others are good guys, but what I feel is that all of them are necessary, otherwise they wouldn't be in the play. Embrace them all and move on to the next act. And I really wish I had somebody like this telling me that during my times. I thought it would really help. So I'm hoping that it can bring some reconciliation um, between us, and for anyone else out there, reconciliation between whomever you have a disagreement with or somebody who has a disagreement with you, whether it's both ways or vice versa. The next thing is, and this is more spiritual, and I'm not going to always talk about this. Make a new agreement with yourself to always try to stay connected to your spirit, even when it seems the most difficult thing to do. If you do this, you're going to allow whatever degree of like perfect harmony that your body was designed for to proliferate. Turn your hurts into something positive and allow this sort of positive energy, is more of what the spirit is, I feel, to flow through you. Another thing is, something that I've done really bad is I went to sleep angry. Each night after, I would say for at least a year after my divorce, every night when I went to sleep, I adamantly refused to use that precious time to review anything that I do not want to be reinforced in the hours of being immersed in my subconscious mind. I choose to impress upon my subconscious mind my conception of myself as a human being in alignment with the one mind that I have. I reiterated the I ams, and which I placed in my imagination, and I remember that my slumber will be dominated by my last waking concept of myself. I am peaceful, I am content, I am love, and I attract only to myself those who are in alignment with my highest ideals of myself. And I didn't do that because, let's just be honest, after a divorce, you're feeling probably quite, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but you're feeling quite negative and down about yourself. You're feeling like a large portion of your life just, ended, and that it's really difficult to bounce back from. And this was unfortunate. I mean, very fortunately, this was not true. It's more of a fallacy, but I will tell you that it did really hit me like that. So now, um, I assume when I go to sleep now that the feeling in my body of those I am statements are already fulfilled. I am a good person. I am trying to do good in this world. I am somebody who deserves good things. And I actually consider those statements already fulfilled. And I know that I'm allowing myself to be at least scientifically, neurologically programmed while I'm asleep for the next day, arising knowing that I'm pretty much free. I'm not a prisoner to the negativity and the thoughts I've had. And another thing, another step I would do is switch the focus from blaming others, not to blaming yourself, but switch the focus from blaming others to understanding yourself. And whenever you're upset over the conduct of others, take the focus off those you are holding responsible for your inner distress. I try to shift my mental energy to allowing myself to be with whatever I'm feeling. Let the experience be as it may, without blaming others for my feelings. Don't blame yourself either. Just allow the experience to unfold and tell yourself that no one has the power to make you uneasy without your consent, and that you're unwilling to grant that authority to that person right now. Tell yourself that you are willing to freely experience your emotions without calling them wrong or needing to chase them away. In this way, you've made this shift to self mastery. It's important to bypass this blame and even bypass your desire to understand the other person. Instead, focus on understanding yourself. And by taking responsibility for how you choose to respond to anything or anyone, like for example, the way I responded to you, I was actually doing it in jest. I was doing it more as egging you on to join our room. And then by giving 5 times the money I would make to a charitable cause for you joining, it would show you that I would actually, quote unquote, have less money, at least in the short term, as you from a result from you joining my room, at least 5 times less whatever money I would receive from you, take becoming a member, taking my courses, whatever it is. So I was actually doing that in jest. In hindsight now, I'm not really happy about the way I answered you. Again, I would very freely delete those YouTube responses that I gave you. But just so you know, in my head, I was doing them completely in jest. And by taking responsibility for how you choose to respond to anything or anyone, which I am like now, right now, you're aligning yourself with this beautiful dance of life. And by changing the way you choose to perceive the power that others have over you, you're going to see a bright new world of unlimited potential for yourself, and you'll know instantly how to forgive and let go of anything. The next step is something that I did wrong all my life, is avoiding thoughts and activities that involve telling people who are perfectly capable of making their own choices what to do. Whether it's your family or anyone, remember that you don't own anyone. You know, you don't own anyone. There was a famous poet, Khalil Gibran, and he said, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And this is really always true. In fact, disregard any inclination to dominate in all of your relationships. Listen rather than expound, for example. Pay attention to yourself when you're having judgmental opinions and see where self attention takes you. When you replace an ownership mentality with one of allowing, you're going to begin to see the true unfolding in yourself and other people. And from that moment on, you'll be free of frustration. And again, I learned this the hard way, and I only can say this now and know what I'm saying right now works because it came from a point where I was failing for a long time before this worked for me. Okay, so that's why I think I'm a good example because I the majority of my life I didn't feel this way. Now that we're talking, right? Um, as Bruce Lee said, learn to let go and be like water. And he's like, water can flow or it can crash, right? And it's a very famous, I think it was an E-Trade commercial or something that had Bruce Lee. Anyone want to put in the comment section when Bruce Lee said that on the commercial? So rather than attempting to dominate with your forcefulness, be like water, flow everywhere. There's an opening. Soften your hard edges by being more tolerant of contrary opinions. Interfere less and substitute listening for directing and telling. Instead of directing and telling, substitute that for listening. When someone offers you their viewpoint, try responding with, I've never considered that before. Thank you. I'll give it some thought. That way, you're being open. You're not going to be closed minded. You're going to be able to actually understand another point of view, whether agree with it or not. I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that I love that I disagree with, and a lot of the things they do that I do agree with. But as long as it's not coming from a malicious place, it will never bother me. And again, if you feel that anything I've ever said in the past came from a malicious place, I can guarantee you with every ounce of my being that that is not the case. And even if it ended up good or bad or neutral, nothing, I really don't have a malicious bone in my body anymore. I would not say that was true for my entire life, to be honest. Not that I did bad for people, but I definitely didn't forgive. I definitely didn't forgive, and that was a very negative thing. So, take responsibility for your part by removing blame. It really means never assigning responsibility to anyone else for what you're experiencing in life. It means that you're willing to say, I may not understand why I feel this way, why I have, for example, this is very common with people with chronic illnesses, why I've been victimized. I'm not loved. Why do I deserve to suffer while others don't? Or why I had this accident, but I'm willing to say without any guilt or resentment that I own it, I live with it, and I'm responsible for having it in my life. And if you take this responsibility for having the experience, then at least you'll have a chance to also take responsibility from removing it or learning from it. And if you're in some small, perhaps unknown way responsible for that migraine headache or that depressed feeling, something that I suffered from probably about a decade ago, really, but even less, like 7, 8 years ago, like deep depression after my divorce. Now, you want to see the weak spots in me. I'm not bulletproof in every way. Then you could go to work to remove it or discover what its message is for you. If, on the other hand, someone or something else is responsible in your mind, then of course you'll have to wait until they change for you to get better. And that is unlikely to occur. So you go home with nothing and are left with nothing when peace is really on the other side of the coin. And um, this really helped me let go of resentments. And what causes annoyance and anger after a dispute? The generic response would be a laundry list detailing why the other person was wrong and how illogically and potentially unreasonably they behaved, concluding with something like, I have a right to be upset when my mother in law, daughter, father, ex boss, ex husband, whoever you're thinking of speaks to me that way. I have a right to be upset when insert person that is bothering you here speaks to me that way. But if you're interested in leading a life that's more positive, it's really imperative that you reverse this kind of thinking. Resentments don't come from the conduct of the other party in a fight or an altercation. They survive and thrive because you're unwilling to end that altercation with an offering of kindness, love, and authentic forgiveness. As Confucius said, uh, someone must risk returning injury with kindness, or hostility will never turn to goodwill. Someone must risk returning injury with kindness, or hostility will never turn to goodwill. So, when all of the yelling, the screaming, and threatening words have been expressed, the time for calm has arrived. Remember that no storm lasts forever, and that hidden within are always seeds of tranquility. There's a time for hostility, and there's a time for peace. And one thing that I've learned, um, be kind instead of right. There is no right thing. Even what I'm doing now and whatever, I would rather be kind instead of right. There's again, and I love Confucius. I love Chinese proverbs, and there's a Chinese proverb, and I forgot who said it, saying if you're going to pursue revenge, you'd better dig two graves, which is saying to me, your resentments will destroy you. There's a Chinese proverb. Again, I don't know the exact translation. I believe it was told to me in Mandarin. If you're going to pursue revenge, you'd better dig two graves. And that's just the world and the way it is. The people who are behaving badly in the world are doing what they're supposed to be doing. You can process it any way that you choose. If you're filled with anger about all those problems, you are one more person who contributes to the pollution of anger. Instead, remember that you have no need to make others wrong or to retaliate when you feel that you have been wrong. Imagine if someone says something to you like this that you find offensive, and rather than, for example, opting for resentment, you learn to depersonalize what you just heard and respond with kindness. You are willing to freely send the higher, faster energies of love, peace, joy, forgiveness, and kindness as your response to whatever comes your way. There's a lot of science behind this. Maybe in another episode, if you ask for it, I'll be happy to show you. You do this for yourself. You would rather be kind than right. And one of the things that I try to do is practice giving. And in the midst of potential arguments or disagreements, practice giving rather than taking before you exit. Giving involves leaving the ego behind. While it wants to win and show its superiority by being contrary and disrespectful, the goodness of your human nature wants to be at peace and live in some form of harmony with the world around you. And you can reduce your quarreling time to almost zero if you practice that procedure in which I'm trying to portray to you. And wherever you are, and whenever you feel strong emotions stirring in you, and you notice yourself feeling the need to be right silently, try to remember this. Where there is injury, let me bring pardon, and be a giver of forgiveness. Bring love to hate, light to darkness, pardon to injury. And if you think about those and I gave you quick little buzzwords because that helps me push forward. Stop looking also for occasions to be offended. I feel we also live. The next step is, and I have a few more for you here. Um, and I'll probably, bring up. I would say that America has devolved into a place where people are looking for occasions to be offended. And when you live at or below ordinary levels of awareness, you spend a great deal of time and energy finding opportunities to be offended. And this used to be me, whether it's stupid geopolitical news reports, a rude stranger, someone cursing, a sneeze, a black cloud, just about anything will do if you're looking for an occasion to be offended. Become a person who refuses to be offended by anyone or anything or any set of circumstances, and you will actually learn not how to not overtrade in the market, how to be very forgiving of all the geopolitical moves and nonsense around us, and you'll be a much better and more effective trader. And not being offended is a way of me saying I have control over how I'm going to feel, and I choose to feel peaceful regardless of what I observe going on. When you feel offended, even if it's me offending you or somebody offending you, right? You're practicing judgment. You're judging someone else to be either stupid or insensitive or rude or arrogant or inconsiderate or foolish, and then you find yourself upset by the offender and their conduct. And what you might not realize here is that when you judge another person, you do not define them. You define yourself as someone who needs to judge others. And that took me many years to actually learn. Don't live in the past, be present, because when we find it difficult to forgive, often it is because we're not living in the present, and instead we assign more importance to the past. We assign a good portion of our energy and attention lamenting the good old days that are gone forever as the reason why we can't be happy and fulfilled today. Everything has changed. No one respects anyone else like they used to. How many people I know in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s who tell me that the world isn't the same like it used to be? Or insert where you live now is not the same like it was living here X amount of years ago. How many of you guys feel like that? Can I say, yeah, I know what you're talking about if you know what I'm talking about? This is assigning responsibility to the past for why you can't be happy today. It's doubtful that other creatures waste the present moment in thoughts of past and future. For example, a beaver only does beaver, and he does it right in the moment. He doesn't spend his days ruminating over the fact that his beaver siblings received more attention, something that has plagued me my entire life, or not anymore, but for a large majority of it, or that his father beaver ran off with a younger beaver when he was growing up. He's always in the now. We can learn so much from the creatures, the non human creatures around us, about enjoying the present moment rather than using it up consumed, toxically consumed with anger over the past or worrying about the future. Practice living in the moment by appreciating the beauty around you now. Another thing is embrace your dark times. This is something that I wish I did more of. Now, what do I mean? Um, you know, there simply can be no accidents. As tough as it is to acknowledge you had to go through what you went through in order to get where you are today, and the evidence is that you did, every advance, every dare I say, spiritual advance that you'll make in your life will very likely be preceded by some kind of fall or seeming disaster. It finds it funny that when people are, for example, about to die, whether it's the death penalty here, even in the United States, they tend to speak to a pastor before that moment happens. It does bring people more into more religious circumstances. Those dark times and accidents, tough episodes, breakups, periods of impoverishment, illnesses, abuses, and broken dreams were all in order. They happened, so you can assume they had to, and you can't unhappen them. Embrace them. I know that's hard. Embrace them from your perspective and then understand them and accept them and honor them. And then, only then, can you transform them. Refraining from judgment. When you stop judging and simply become an observer, you're going to know how to forgive and accomplish that inner peace, and it does miracles for your trading. With that sense of inner peace, you'll find that you're happier, free of the negative energy of resentment. And a bonus is that you're going to find that others are much more attracted to you. A peaceful person attracts peaceful energy. There's actually science behind that, by the way. The wavelengths of your brain when you're at peace are much different than your brain waves when you're distressed. And if you believe, like science believes, that humans can interpret those brain waves from each other, you're going to be a much happier person. So, my criticism and condemnation of the thoughts, feelings, and behavior of others, I would say, regardless of how many right and moral my human self convinces me, it's a self it's a step away from realization, and the consciousness that allows for my wishes to be fulfilled as long as they are aligned with who I am as a human being. I can come up with a long list of reasons why I should be judgmental and condemn others, um, other people around me for what they did, and damn it, I'm right, and yes, I want to perfect my own world, and I want to do so. I have to substitute love, caring, and at least openness rather than having these judgmental things. So ultimately, I urge you, I urge you to send love. And I know that sounds weird and a very, hippie, magical place. I urge you to send love in place of those judgments and criticisms to others when you feel they impede your joy and happiness. Hold them in a place of love, and notice that if you stay steadfast and vigilant with what I'm trying to explain to you here, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at actually change. There's science behind that. When you even look at neurons, depending on how you want them to look, is how they will actually look. Picture yourself at the termination of a quarrel or major dispute, and rather than reacting with old patterns of residual anger, revenge, and hurt, visualize offering kindness, love, and forgiveness. You could do this right now by sending out good thoughts, positive thoughts, loving thoughts to any resentments that you're currently carrying. Make this your standard response to any and all of your future altercations. Basically, try to end on love on anything in any situation that life throws at you, no matter what. I know it's a lot, and before I end this show here, I know it's a lot easier said than done. I know what I'm saying is a lot easier said than done, but I promise you, as you practice these things every single day, everything will become easier every single day. I used to have a negative thought in trading every 30 seconds. Um, Actually, when when I was on William Street in T3, every 30 seconds I would have a negative thought in my head, whether it was someone around me, somebody else, whatever, around me, like in my life, not in the office at all. But I would have these negative thoughts every 30 seconds, and I would have to stop myself and think of a positive thought. After weeks, I noticed that those thoughts reduced to about I was having a negative thought every minute and then a minute 30 seconds till today where I don't have these negative thoughts anymore. It is a process on rewiring your neurological connections within your brain. Yes, there is a ton of science on that either. And I hope you guys ultimately learn from this. And ultimately, I do ask for your forgiveness, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, for anything that I have ever done to hurt you. And if you have ever done anything to hurt me, I will tell you right now that I forgive you for every single one of those moments, and I don't own one negative iota of negativity towards you whatsoever. Quite the contrary. I actually wish the best upon you and all your future endeavors. I hope you guys enjoyed this Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money. We'll see you guys soon on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Have a wonderful day.